A new reality has descended upon the Russian Federation. For months, the conflict was a distant affair for most citizens, a narrative confined to state-controlled television and fought hundreds of kilometers away. But that illusion of safety has been shattered. The new reality is carried on the wings of small, unmanned aircraft. Inexpensive, numerous, and increasingly sophisticated, these drones have become the great equalizers of modern warfare, capable of bypassing formidable defenses through sheer numbers and stealth. Last night, the war crossed a threshold many thought was years away. This wasn't just another cross-border incursion. It was a meticulously planned operation that demonstrated a leap in technological and strategic capability. It was not a singular event, but a coordinated storm. More than 130 Ukrainian drones penetrated deep into Russian airspace, flying in complex, layered waves designed to confuse and saturate air defense networks. This was a scale of attack previously unseen in this conflict, targeting a vast and strategically diverse set of locations simultaneously. They reached the very heart of the nation. Moscow. Striking the capital is a powerful psychological blow, a direct challenge to the Kremlin's authority and its narrative of control. They hit the heavily fortified and contested peninsula, Crimea, a critical logistical hub for Russia's southern military operations. And in a stunning display of range, they stretched even further east, into Siberia, targeting infrastructure thousands of kilometers from Ukraine. This audacious reach brought the conflict home to millions who had only seen it on state TV, transforming an abstract concept into a tangible, overhead threat. This was a statement of capability and intent, delivered with a precision that shocked military observers. For 5 consecutive hours, the night was filled with the unfamiliar sound of air raid sirens, a constant, piercing reminder of the unfolding threat, echoing through cities that had known peace for decades. In cities far from any front line, citizens watched the sky in a mixture of fear and disbelief, their smartphones capturing the flashes of a war that had suddenly arrived on their doorstep. Air defense systems, stretched thin across the world's largest country, frantically engaged the incoming waves. As a precautionary measure, airports across multiple regions were forced to shut down, grounding all traffic. Civilian flights were halted, supply chains disrupted, and the rhythm of daily life was broken by the realities of war. While Kremlin channels claimed most drones were intercepted, broadcasting a message of calm and control, a torrent of footage from the ground told a different story. Explosions, raging fires, and dark plumes of smoke rising into the night from strategic economic assets. The scale and coordination of the attack mark a significant evolution in Ukraine's long-range strike strategy. It demonstrates the ability to plan and execute complex, multi-axis operations on a national scale, using swarm tactics specifically designed to overwhelm even the most advanced Russian air defenses. From the political center in Moscow to the industrial heartlands and military bases, the strikes spanned a vast and deliberately chosen area. This suggests a high level of intelligence gathering and sophisticated operational control, likely aided by Western partners. This is no longer simple border harassment. It is a calculated campaign to inflict systemic damage on Russia's war economy and military logistics. It is a clear and undeniable warning that no part of Russia is out of reach. The physical damage will be repaired, but the war's psychological landscape has been irrevocably altered. The fortress has been breached. The drone assault did not occur in a vacuum, nor was it a spontaneous act of retaliation. It was a meticulously calculated move, the culmination of a strategic shift that had been brewing for months. The operation was preceded by a clear and unambiguous message from President Volodymyr Zelensky. In a national address, just hours before the first drones reached their distant targets, he publicly underscored Ukraine's burgeoning long-range capability. He declared that for Ukraine to secure a lasting independence and guarantee peace for future generations, it could no longer afford to fight a purely defensive war. To achieve victory, Kyiv must have the ability to strike deep within enemy territory, targeting the very infrastructure that fuels the invasion. This was not just another plea for Western long-range weapons. It was a declaration of intent, signaling that Ukraine was now prepared to act with its own homegrown solutions. He set a firm deadline. All deep strike goals for the year would be met. A direct and defiant address to Moscow. Within hours, as if on cue, Russian radar maps across several regions began to light up with unidentified inbound tracks. The timing was impeccable, leaving no room for ambiguity. Warnings were no longer rhetorical. Kyiv had seamlessly linked speech to action, demonstrating a new level of operational maturity. The selection of targets underscored a sophisticated economic warfare strategy. Oil, chemicals, power, and military installations. Oil refineries, the source of fuel for tanks and jets. Chemical plants, producing polymers for military hardware. Power stations, energizing the entire war economy. And military installations, the logistical hubs for the front lines. Each target is a critical node sustaining Russia's war effort, providing essential materials, generating revenue, and enabling logistics. These strikes work in tandem with international sanctions, creating a two-front economic war. One of the most significant strikes hit the Skripal chemical plant, a sprawling complex located about 700 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. This facility is a key supplier to the Russian defense sector, specializing in polyethylene and polypropylene. Those plastics are not trivial materials. They are foundational components for ballistic armor, combat helmets, vehicle fuel bladders, camouflage nets, and ropes, the essential gear of the modern soldier. Local footage captured the moment of impact, showing a huge primary explosion followed by a cascade of secondary blasts that rocked the facility. By disabling this plant, Ukraine directly hits the supply chain that equips and protects Russian soldiers on the battlefield. A single drone strike, hundreds of kilometers from the front, becomes a tangible battlefield impediment. With each successful mission, Ukraine is systematically dismantling the economic engine that fuels Russia's aggression. The strike on the Mari oil refinery was even more audacious, penetrating more than 1,000 kilometers into Russian territory, a new landmark for Ukrainian capabilities. These attacks prove that Ukraine's drones have matured from tactical tools into strategic deep strike weapons. They are engineered to fly low and slow, exploiting gaps in radar coverage and navigating vast distances to strike at the heart of Russia's energy and industrial nodes. Each successful hit degrades Russia's refining capacity, disrupts the flow of petroleum products to both domestic and military consumers, and chips away at a key source of state revenue. The campaign forces Moscow into an impossible dilemma: divert precious air defense assets from the front lines to protect its sprawling industrial heartland, or leave its economic backbone vulnerable to an ever-growing threat from the sky. In Crimea, a Pantsir S-2 air defense system was destroyed. This wasn't just any piece of equipment, it was a high-value, mobile surface-to-air missile system, a crucial component of Russia's layered air defense. Its loss represents a significant crack in the shield protecting the occupied peninsula. Compounding this success, 2 advanced radar stations were also eliminated. These weren't just isolated outposts. They were the eyes of the peninsula's defense network, providing critical early warning data. Taking them offline effectively blinded the remaining systems, creating a dangerous information vacuum. With these key defenses degraded, safer corridors open up. These are not just temporary gaps, but systematically created pathways for future waves of attacks, potentially involving more sophisticated munitions that would have previously been intercepted. The impact of these corridors was felt almost immediately. The Atan oil depot burned again, just weeks after a previous massive fire that was visible from space. This illustrates a brutal new tactic. As soon as exhausted crews begin the painstaking work of repairs, new drones arrive to reignite the flames, turning recovery efforts into a futile and demoralizing cycle. These relentless strikes are designed to drain not just physical resources, but also psychological resolve. It is a classic war of exhaustion, fought not on the front lines, but deep within Russia's industrial heartland. The profound effectiveness of this campaign lies in the principles of asymmetric warfare. The drones themselves are relatively cheap, often costing less than a new car, but they are capable of destroying infrastructure worth hundreds of millions of dollars. and the cost of intercepting them with multi-million-dollar missiles is financially unsustainable. The limitations of Russia's air defenses were starkly exposed in Oriol. Despite official claims that all incoming drones were downed, 5 separate explosions rocked a major refinery. Geolocated footage confirmed the reality. Fires were burning at several distinct locations, contradicting the official narrative of a perfect defense. In response, Russia has been forced to improvise. Ground troops are now frequently seen resorting to crude countermeasures like machine guns and anti-drone guns to protect critical infrastructure. This ad hoc manual defense model, once confined to the front lines, has even appeared on the rooftops of Moscow, a clear sign of desperation. But this approach is inherently unreliable. Against a swarm of drones, a single miss can be catastrophic, resulting in the very disaster these crews are trying to prevent. This creates an impossible dilemma for Russian commanders: either conserve costly and finite interceptor missiles for high-value military targets, or risk the destruction of vital economic infrastructure. Retired U.S. General Ben Hodges highlights the strategic wisdom of this approach, emphasizing the focus on Russia's oil and gas sector. By targeting not just refineries but also export capacity, Ukraine is striking directly at the financial foundation of Russia's war machine. As Hodges puts it, without that revenue, I don't see how Russia can continue the war beyond next year. Each successful strike sends ripples through global energy markets, creating uncertainty and price volatility that affects economies worldwide. But the most acute effects are felt at home in Russia: rising fuel prices, regional rationing, and growing supply chain volatility. The military and state apparatus will always get priority for fuel, meaning it is ordinary civilians and non-essential industries that feel the pinch first and hardest. This campaign is not mere retaliation for attacks on Ukrainian cities. It is a calculated form of economic leverage, designed to impose costs the Kremlin cannot ignore. It is a strategy that prioritizes innovation, precision, and patience over brute force and manpower. Ironically, Russia's greatest historical advantage, its vast strategic depth, has now become its greatest vulnerability. It is impossible to defend thousands of potential targets spread across 11 time zones while also sustaining a massive war effort on the front lines. It is an impossible trade-off. The coming months will be a critical test of this strategy, revealing whether sustained economic pressure can force a change in Moscow's calculations and create new terms for ending the conflict. If these strikes are sustained, Russia's war wallet will inevitably thin. The question is whether this leads to de-escalation or prompts a dangerous new phase of the conflict. For the first time in generations, the sky over Russia is genuinely contested. This expanding aerial campaign is no longer a sideshow. It is a central theater that will shape the future of the entire war. The ultimate question remains: will Ukraine's campaign of deep strikes finally cripple Russia's war economy? Or will it provoke a response that opens an even more destructive chapter for everyone?